Hello, Dog fans. This is Aaron Coe with the Emerald City Spectrum. We're going to talk some defensive front today. So those big boys and those edges that are hopefully going to be coming at the quarterback this season. It was a bit of an issue last season. Had trouble getting to the quarterback. Had trouble stopping the run against some of those top opponents. So they've made a real effort this year. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to the Emerald City Spectrum. You can go to emeraldcityspectrum.com. Subscribe, $6 a month. You're going to get Corbin Smith covering the Seahawks. You're going to get the Huskies, the Storm, the Seawolves rugby team, Kraken, Sounders, Reign. I think we're going to be covering the Cougars pretty soon. Don't tell anybody. And also someday, they're going to bring my Supersonics back. So go ahead and subscribe now. It's well worth it to get all that content for just $6 a month. But for right now, you can watch this for free, and we're going to, again, talk about the defensive line. So this defensive line last year, they only had 16 and a half sacks from that front. There are a few sacks that came from other positions. It was a real issue getting to the quarterback, stopping the run. So, yeah, they have made a big effort to get some of those guys back in the buffet line, put on a few pounds so they can be a little more stout up front. They've also brought a few guys in who are already big and hoping that they can help out. And then, just again, trying to improve on those edges as well with some guys coming back that I think will be better this year. So with that, I thought one of the guys that took a big jump toward the end of last season was Alenius Davis. He is a 6'2", 315-pound sophomore this year. And I thought he looked good in camp as well. He looked like the best defensive tackle on the field in spring. Now, there were a couple guys that didn't get in so much. But I tell you what, I think he's going to be one of their top guys in the rotation, no matter who's available this fall. He just looked really good against, he looks like a guy who could play in pretty much any down and distance. So really liked what I saw from him. Ontario Thompson, 6'4", 306. Kind of, has been at a few different schools, but he's here at Washington as a senior this year. And he's another guy that I think will be in that rotation a bit and has some versatility, 6'4", 306 senior. And he was getting a lot of first team reps. Now, a couple big guys who maybe were a little too big when things got started. They were both kind of off to the side, trying to get in football shape and got there, I thought, toward the end of spring football. And, they're going to be in a lot, especially in those rundowns. And both of these guys I expect to be in there a lot. So that's Logan Sagapulo, 6'2", 345. He was 366 last year. Said that he cut out some sweets and maybe made those meals a little bit smaller. So he's lost some pounds, looks better. He was at Miami and he was at Oregon as an offensive lineman, but came to UW as a defensive lineman, played a bit last year. Not a lot, but it was kind of in those situations where they needed to stuff the run and he helped them do that. So then they bring in Samodi Pepa from Utah. He's another big boy, 6'3", 350. That's what it said on the spring chart. These are all what it says on the spring not depth chart, but spring roster. 350 and even 350 is what they had him listed at. He was working on the side again, but he's an experienced guy. I don't think he needs a ton of spring reps to be ready to go. And again, he's going to be in there a lot as well. Now, not to lump them together, but the Parker twins, I will lump them together. Javon and Armand Parker, they're both right around 6'3", 315, 320. And both have flashed here and there, in practices. Javon especially has done some things in games, but blew his Achilles out last year. Supposedly he's going to be ready to go in the fall. And then Armand Parker has just never been able to play in a game, due to injuries. So if they can keep those two guys healthy, those are two talented guys out of Detroit that could get some run as well. I mean, they could even end up, starting, we were a little bit surprised when Jed Fish mentioned Armand Parker as one of the bright spots of spring camp. And he did show that in the spring game. And by the way, I wrote about all these guys in an article that's already in the Spectrum, the defensive tackle. So you can kind of learn more about them there. And then my next story that'll be coming out on the Spectrum is about the edge players. And that's what we're going to talk about now, just kind of bring this whole defensive front together. So, for edges, it's kind of the health where there's a couple guys that have had trouble staying healthy. And, that's part of the reason they were really not able to get any pressure on the passers last year for the most part. So, the big one that we've heard about this guy for a couple of years now is, Free Durf, right? For Zach Durfee. He transferred from Sioux Falls. Kalen DeBoer brought him in. He was talked about as, look at this guy. He can be a great pass rusher. People were comparing him to Nick Bosa for a couple reasons. One of them, it is what it is. And the other, just the body type. He just looks like a long, athletic guy that really could disrupt the passing game. He just has not been able to, they finally got him eligible. There was a transfer issue. Won't get into all that in 2023. And then last year really looked good in the first couple of games and then just got hurt. It was turf toe, may have been a hip issue. I'm not exactly sure what was going on. I do know that he had an off-season surgery, didn't participate much in the spring, just off to the side. And, but I know that, this coaching staff really likes him too. They've talked about him as well. He had last season in his first game, he had 3 pass breakups and, 3 tackles on a pass breakup. And then in his second game, he really showed something. He had 2.5 sacks, 5 tackles. And I'm like, wow, okay, now I see what they were talking about. And then we, not that we didn't ever see him again, but we didn't see him much after that. And he missed most of the year for a variety of reasons, from what I understand. So we'll see. I keep hearing about this guy. Will he amount to a lot? We'll find out. And, rooting for the guy. So hopefully he comes in and does well for the team. He certainly seems to have the talent to do it. And he's also got the motor that we saw in those first couple of games. He was really getting after it. So yeah, it would be fun to see him be able to stay healthy for a whole year. A guy that I thought really especially of the guys that were able to practice in the spring, I thought a guy that really looked good and is definitely going to play a lot this season was Jacob Lane. He was, disruptive in the passing game and the running game. He's 6'5", 260 junior out of Puyallup. And again, he just looks like that complete defensive end, that edge that you're looking for. And by the way, I should mention, the Huskies are going to run a 5-man front in their base defense. So you're going to see a mix of different shapes and sizes in there, depending on the down and distance. So a few of these guys that I'm talking about in the edge category are technically listed as just as defensive linemen, and some of them are listed as edges. And they're going to kind of rotate in and out, and you're going to see bigger boys against run situations, and you may see a few more of the slider guys against the pass. So they're going to be able to mix, assuming everyone's healthy, they're going to be able to mix and match quite a bit based on the situation and rotate guys in. Probably more so than last year. So yeah, Jacob Lane again just looks really good. Both of these guys, this kind of first group that I'm talking about are field edges. So they're going to cover the wide side of the field. And then, that second group that we'll get into in a minute, the boundary edge, that's usually going to be, just on the hash side. So covering that shorter side against the sideline there. So, one of the, kind of bigger guys that will play in that kind of defensive end edge spot is Tai Uyagalele. Sorry, I hope I got that right. I still struggle with that one. You may recognize that last name if you could hear what I said. As he's the brother of the quarterback who went to Oregon State and Miami, and I forget where he went after that. But he was supposed to win Clemson. He was at Clemson. I don't know. He's been around. He was supposed to win a Heisman. Didn't happen. But yeah, so Tai is 6'4", 280. He is a senior. And he's a guy that again will really be able to kind of set that edge, especially against the run game, and give them a little pass rush as well. He had 8 tackles for loss last year and 2.5 sacks. So he can get after it a little bit in there as well. And then a guy that we saw last year was Deshaun Lynch. He's a bigger guy, 6'5", 300. And, again, he rotated in last year. He was a transfer from Sac State last year, came in and played for the Huskies. So he'll get in there again as well, I believe, a fair amount. So, okay, on that boundary side, now this is where, we talked earlier about some defensive linemen that maybe should stay out of the buffet line a little bit. These guys need to take as many trips in there as they can. A couple of these guys anyway. So Isaiah Ward, 6'5", 235 on the roster, up from 227 he was up last year. He looked really pretty darn good at times last year. He again, just being a smaller guy, not super stout against the run. But he did lead the team with 6 tackles for loss last year, which, say what you want about that. That's not a lot to lead the team, but he did lead the team, and he had I think 3 sacks as well. So he's a guy that's gonna get into that backfield, and I think he can create some havoc. He did at times last year, could do that a little bit more this year. And a guy that I really liked a lot, but he only played in 3 games, but one of them, he was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. So figure that one out. That's Russell Davis. Now, he's another slight guy. He's 6'3", 220, junior. And, he had 3 sacks, a forced fumble that he recovered against UCLA last year. And just looked, I'm like, wow, this is the next great pass rusher. But yeah, then he's just a guy that, he was hurt early in the year and then at the end of the year as well. So we just saw him for those 3 games, but he really flashed as a guy that could get into that backfield. After that, it gets, on this boundary. And again, I say boundary side, field side, this could flip, guys are going to move back and forth between those spots as well. But this is kind of what we saw in spring ball. Milton Hopkins, the lone walk-on of the group, 6'4", 240 senior. He's just got that motor. He just goes after it. And, I don't know if he'll play a ton, but I expect that he'll get in there at times. And, he's an asset to have for, just for depth if someone gets hurt, and then also to spell others at times. And then you've got Caleb Smith, a freshman. He was basically with the 3rd team during spring ball, so didn't see a ton of him with the 1st or 2nd team. He's 6'5", 265 though, and really looks the part of somebody that could help the team, if not this year, then in future years. But again, I don't think this is going to be a team that just is, all over the quarterback on every play. I think they're going to have to scheme it up. And, Ryan Walters coming in as a new defensive coordinator, replacing Steve Belichick, who went to join Pop and Jordan over there at North Carolina. I think he's a very good scheme guy and a good motivator. So hopefully they can get into that backfield more than they did last year. And I believe they will be improved there. I don't think they're going to lead the nation in sacks or anything like that, but they should be able to get some more pressure. And that's going to be a big part of it. They've got a couple of really good corners out there, but, they can only cover for so long. So it's going to be important for these guys to get into that backfield and make that quarterback get rid of the ball, put a little pressure on them. Otherwise, if he can just sit back like they were able to at times last year, that's going to be really tough on those corners out there. So that there's a few more guys, but I think that, those are probably the guys that have the most chance of playing this season. So we'll kind of stop there. But again, emeraldcityspectrum.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at COE_Aaron, AARON. You can find me on Blue Sky at Aaron-Coe. And again, subscribe to the Spectrum. If it's in Seattle, we're pretty much covering it, and we got some great writers there, plus me, for whatever that's worth. So again, check us out, and go Dogs.